Okay, so a recap of what we just went over for this week's course lesson. We've gone over more complex mathematical nodes such as sine and cosine, as well as the moving UV nodes such as Panner and rotation. We've gone over detail maps and how they can be very useful when it comes to assets that need to be reused and given extra detail for things that need to be shown up close. We've gone over glass and the many different ways to use glass, as well as other opacity models. We've gone over the different ways to handle subsurface scattering within the engine, whether it's a prop or human or anatomical skin. We've gone over dual normals and the process how to go about creating them, as well as applying a secondary roughness to our shaders. And then finally, we've gone over the different ways to create a material shader for cloth and how to apply the special Fresnel treatments for certain materials such as velvet and silk. For our homework this week, I would like for all of you to go through and actually create one shader of each of these. It doesn't have to be exactly as I've done it, but it just has to show that you've learned and are using these methods. So you're going to create one prop material for a rock that is using a detail normal map and a detail albedo map. You're going to use a shader. It doesn't have to be with Panner rotation. It could be using any of the three that we've shown. It could be a node that uses just a Panner. It could be a node that uses rotation. It could be a node that uses sine or cosine. It just has to have one of these effects, and it should be very much noticeable what the node is. It could just be a texture scrolling. It could be something like a light flashing on and off like this, or it could be something just rotating around on a flat surface. Next, I want you to create two different glass shaders, a simple one without using Fresnel and one that does use Fresnel. Both must use the roughness and metalness versions of the transparency material that we went through. Next, I want you guys to create two subsurface materials. One has to have the pre-integrated skin shading model, and then the other could be just the subsurface color, or it could use the subsurface profile. Just make sure that everything is all set up and everything is labeled properly. They both have to look using human skin tones. It doesn't have to just be Caucasian. It can be any others, but I want to see that it is realistically applied. I will provide links to different ways to figure out what are the dermal colors for the skin layers. Next, I want you guys to create one dual normal material. It doesn't have to be this carbon fiber. It just has to have a metallic value as the undercoat, and then just a simple flat clear coat roughness, and show that you're using the tiling, the normal map underneath the clear coat, as well as applying a normal strength to it. It has to be metallic overall and just set up as we've shown in the lesson. And then finally, I want you guys to create two different PBR correct cloth materials. They must be using the fuzzy shading node. We're not going to be using the cloth shading model. It doesn't have to be velvet. It doesn't have to be silk, but I want to see two separate materials. I can provide you guys with optimal links for textures that you can use within Megascans. It could be cotton, burlap, polyester, anything you would like. If you want to, you can try and tackle velvet, but just be aware that there's only one velvet material that you can find on Megascans. Silk, I am not too sure of, but if you want to, try to make sure that you create at least two, and they have to be PBR correct. But that's the end of this week's lesson. We'll be back next week with more advanced shaders for landscape and position and other blending materials. I want to thank you guys, and you guys all have a great week. Thank you.